Whether you drive a car,
need a car,
or just occasionally bum a ride with friends,
you've come to the right place.
Join Jill and Tom as they break down everything that's going on in the auto world.
New car reviews,
Shopping tips,
driving green,
electric cars,
classic cars,
and plenty of great guests.
This is the Consumer Guide Car Stuff Podcast.
All right, this is the Car Stuff Podcast. I am indeed Tom Appel. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this week. When you have a chance, do me a favor, do me a solid. Check us out at consumerguide.com. Lots of stuff there, including our 2024 Best Buy picks. If you were looking for a new car or truck, the list is super handy. Also, you can listen to back episodes of the podcast right there on our homepage. All right. In studio with me, next to me, is Jill Ciminillo. She is managing editor of Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. She's a North American Car of the Year juror, and she freelances a bunch. Jill, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. You've been traveling a little bit.
I have been.
You drove some stuff. You're testing stuff for the final NACTOY, North American Car of the Year voting.
Yeah. So every year in Ann Arbor, Michigan, they do a semifinalist drive,
it used to be in hell.
It used to be in hell. I know.
Michigan.
I'm very sad that it is no longer in hell. I don't get to go to hell.
That's a weird part. I understand hell's a nice place.
I've driven through hell, and it is actually quite lovely. But no, they now host it in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's like a 3-day drive when all of the vehicles that have been nominated are asked to bring a representative of their vehicle to the drive for jurors to be able to test. And in some cases, it's the opportunity to drive it for the first time. In many cases, it's the opportunity to drive vehicles back to back to back, which is specifically what I did with the trucks. Because, there are 5 trucks up for the award and they were all there. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive them back to back to back and see how I feel.
I always enjoy that opportunity. As a member of the Midwest Automotive Media Association, I have enjoyed many a spring rally where they bring 100 vehicles.
Yeah.
And I never bother with the track. I just want to drive everything.
Yeah.
And take pictures of little things I forget about, like dashboards, dashboard controls, switches, storage spaces. It's super useful. But you got to drive, and I've been disconnected from this brand for a few years now, some Porsches.
Yeah.
And specifically one Porsche. Here's the thing about Porsche. I think that if you don't know that much about Porsche, you think the brand is really the 911.
Yeah.
The legendary rear-engine sports car that is still an incredible vehicle, though I haven't driven one in a couple of years. But the brand is really all about now the Cayman. And not the Cayman, the Cayenne and the Macan, which are 2 crossovers. They make up about 60% of the brand's volume. The 911 is a slow seller, and what we call the 918s now, which used to be the Boxster and Cayman, they're still the Boxster and the Cayman, those are sports cars. Those are true mid-engine sports cars. Those vehicles make up a very small percentage of total Porsche sales in the U.S. Porsche is really kind of a people mover brand, though no one wants to hear that. But the Macan, you drove the Macan EV.
Yes.
That is their best-selling vehicle, the gasoline version of that. And let me just illustrate this, through the first 3 quarters of the year, Porsche sold 18,000 Macans. It sold just 10,000 911s. Just to put the volume into perspective.
Yeah.
This is an important car for the brand.
Yeah.
It's been available as a gas vehicle since, I wrote this number down, I think it was 2013. Now available as an EV.
Yeah. It's really good.
Is it?
It is really good.
I kind of expected it would be.
Yeah. And so here's the thing, like the base price for this vehicle, and I keep calling it the Macan, and I had somebody on TikTok go, it's called the Macan. So I know I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but I'm going to call it Macan anyway. So I put a TikTok out about it and was really overall impressed with it because base price for this vehicle is just over $75,000. This is an electric Porsche for $75,000.
See, to me, it seems like a lot.
That does not seem like a lot. When you consider the Volkswagen ID Buzz is starting at $60,000.
Well, I think the ID Buzz is a little pricey, but this is a Porsche, and that's good. But it's also a car about the size of a Honda CR-V.
Yes,
and that starts around $30,000.
Okay, but
just to put that into perspective,
Honda versus Porsche.
Your point is well taken. I'm sort of surprised by the volume this already does, but I think that this might be an extremely popular EV.
Yeah.
Like kind of a breakthrough EV product.
Yeah, and I was like trying to pull up some of the stats. We're going to have Calvin Kim come on in about a month, and he's going to give us some more details about the Macan.
And what does he do there?
He is, I believe, the product manager in charge of SUVs.
You got the guy.
I got the guy.
Yeah, that's good.
And he was at the North American Car of the Year drive. And I got to talk with him a little bit, and he showed me a little bit of a presentation. And I mean, I was impressed with the car, just driving it. And then he showed me the presentation, and I was just like, wait a minute, I didn't see that. I want to see that. I need more time with this vehicle. But the overall, this is a 300-mile range vehicle, which I think is the sweet spot for EVs these days. I mean, obviously more is better, but if you can get at least 300 miles, like that's pretty solid. But it has a lot of really cool features, a head-up display with augmented reality, which that's the thing I didn't get to experience. So I'm hoping I can get another test in it, because people were like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then Calvin's like, oh, somebody must have turned that off. And I was like, I want to see that.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Leave that on.
Yeah, but it essentially like shows you the street apparently while you're driving, and like if you're using the navigation, it'll like guide you to the turn on the screen on your windshield. I don't know. It looks really cool.
So the Macan EV is actually not an electric version of the base Macan, right? It's an all-new architecture.
Yeah.
So it's specifically for this. That's a good thing generally, because it means the vehicle might weigh a little bit less, and it handles the battery application a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because I'm driving the BMW i5 right now. Fabulous.
Yeah.
But it does lose a little interior space.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's really good. But it does lose some interior space to the battery, because it is actually based on the gasoline-powered X5 series. I don't know why that was such a mental leap for me, but...
you know what? It's Monday.
5 Series.
It's Monday.
But yeah, so this is specifically and exclusively an EV product. It's available in 4 trim levels, right? Base,
Yeah.
4, 4S, and the hilariously named Turbo.
I know, because it does not have a turbo engine.
There is no turbocharger.
A turbo motor? I don't know. But yeah, and that is going to be your highest priced model, and you're looking at about $105,000 for that one.
Do you know what version you drove?
No. I feel like I was in the 4.
The 4. So that's basically the base vehicle with all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So 308 miles of range, starts at 81K. Bunch of horsepower, 402 horsepower. It's a lot of horsepower in a vehicle, as we noted, the size of a CR-V. So fun?
It was really fun. It was smooth. It was quiet. It was all the things you want in an electric vehicle, yet it still had that, giddy up, and a little bit of the, and granted, I don't drive a lot of Porsches. I haven't for a while, but to me, it had a very sporting dynamic that I imagine would be very Porsche-like.
Most important question, and I'll talk about the BMW i5 in response. How's the steering?
I thought the steering was really good. I thought it was very responsive. And I mean, granted, we're driving in Michigan, so it's not like you get all these great curvy roads.
No. The thing is that when we started going to hybrid vehicles and we started getting stop-start systems in vehicles, all power steering systems went electric. And then the steering feel sucked. Like, it was really bad in most cars. It's too light, it's overboosted, there's no road feedback. And a few companies have overcome that, and the BMW i5 has great steering.
Yeah.
And the weight distribution is a little different, too, so they have to deal with that. You have this big, heavy battery underneath the floor of the vehicle. So it kind of messes with the general dynamic of, like, a Porsche way back when, rear engine, right? That So,
yeah.
But now, but the steering's good.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to keep in mind, this isn't the first rodeo for Porsche in terms of an EV, because they have the dedicated Taycan.
So that you're not calling Taycan.
No. So it's really funny because I had the opportunity to go to Atlanta and drive it for a couple of days, and Calvin was there, and he was just like, Taycan. It is like you're going to a Thai convention. It's Taycan. And I was like, interesting. So now I'm like, Taycan.
What's a Thai convention?
I don't know. It's a convention for ties.
Like neckties?
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's an interesting way to put it.
All right, I don't want to stutter on this point, but what?
I know. Well, pronunciation, Taycan, Thai convention.
Yeah. No, the Taycan, interesting vehicle because it's a relatively small sedan. Maybe even smaller than a BMW 3 Series, but it was electric and available with a ton of power. And at first it sold very well, and then sales have tapered off a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think the price is a scary point too, because those start comfortably over 100.
Yeah, yeah. And they also have, I think they call it the Cross Turismo version, so like the wagon SUV-like version of
Which is
it.
the version to get.
It is.
I forgot about that. Thank you. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it is. It is really cool, and it has a.
You drove one once, right?
I've driven it a couple of times now. So
Okay.
it has the gravel mode on it, and so you can, not that you would take this like studiously off road, but you could do some dirt roads or whatever. And ironically, a couple months ago, I did that eBay Motors drive, the overlanding drive, and they had a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo there with a roof tent. And we drove it, quote unquote, off road. I mean, we were off pavement, and again, nothing terribly technical, but we did get to some
essentially on someone's lawn.
Well, I mean, we went pretty far off on this gravelly, rocky-ish road, and we're up on top of a dam, and we're able to like open up the rooftop tent, and it was really nice. And so, I mean, even though it's an EV and even though it's a Porsche, and believe me, we got some funny looks when we were driving that off-road, but it does well.
I have not sat in a Taycan, much less driven one. Front seat space. Anyone there large try to get into that vehicle? It looks very cramped.
I'm like, what are you saying about me, Tom? I am not large. I'm trying to think of who would have been on my Wave. There were a lot of women on my Wave, so I'm going to say nobody large.
All right. By the way, the BMW, German sedans, even mid-size sedans, used to not be very accommodating for large people. Largely because the door openings are kind of small. And they do that for a bunch of reasons, including structural integrity.
Right.
But I fit really well in the i5. Just saying that. So let's get back to the Macan.
Macan.
So I have just contradict me if you like. I have a sense that this is going to be a big deal.
I think it is. I mean, from the technology to the design to the ride and handling to, and I know you think $73,000 is high or $75,000 is high, but for a Porsche and for an EV, I think that's a nice sweet spot.
It might be. Let me just qualify. The price is high. It's high, I think, for a vehicle that does this kind of volume in this segment. Because if we're looking at like premium compact crossovers, like what is the Lexus, the NX? Where does that start? Right around 48, 50, something like that?
Could be, but it's not an EV.
It's not an EV. So we'll see where this goes. Actually, the EV premium here is about 16 grand. Let's say 15 grand to make it a roundish number. So that's what you're paying to go EV in this vehicle. And then you get the range. You're going to have to get a charger at home. But I think that this is really going to expand. That people who own Porsches own many vehicles.
Yes.
So the barrier of having one vehicle with some limited range, however limited you really think 300 miles is, isn't going to be that much of a barrier.
Yeah.
And they have garages. Porsche owners have garages. So
100%.
Yeah. So this could be kind of a breakthrough car.
Yeah, I really think it is. And I think that it looks a little more mainstream than maybe the Taycan does. It like I said, it drives really well. It has a frunk. It has good storage space. It is I don't know. I can't wait to drive it again. Let's say that.
How is the interior?
Really nice.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of imagine a low-end, air quotes, Porsche interior. But I guess at 70 grand, it's not really low end.
No.
Because Porsche interiors, 911s are beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing, like I haven't tried to build and price this, but the only thing that I will say that Porsches are traditionally known for is everything's an option. So when you say it's $75,000, if you spec it out the way that you want, it's probably going to be closer to 90.
Two thoughts on that point. We have to move along to another story in a moment here. I was looking at, and all the colors suck except for two. Frozen Blue, which is a no-cost color, and the other one, Papaya Metallic, which is great looking, but it's a $2,500 option. And then there are what they call their design exclusive wheels.
Okay.
$5 grand.
Yeah.
They're 22-inch wheels. They're $5 grand. So yes, you can build this price up in a hurry, and that may be what you find on dealer lots.
Yeah, I could see that. So if you looked at the configurator, does it also have that pink color, the Porsche pink? It's like a frozen berry.
Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. Maybe
I love
it does.
That color.
I just saw the papaya, and I was kind of hung on that. It's an orangey color. It's very nice.
Yeah.
All right. So when does this go on sale?
I have to think it will certainly go on sale by the end of the year. Otherwise, we wouldn't be voting on it.
Yeah. So, that's right. And it's a 2025 model.
I think so.
It's got to go on sale this year for you guys to vote on it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Big news.
Big news.
Big news. We've talked a little bit about this before, but now we know things.
Okay. Yes. Yes, we know things.
Volkswagen, the company.
Yes.
Not Volkswagen, the brand.
Volkswagen Group.
Had an event last week to introduce Scout.
Yes.
Scout, which is a brand.
Yes.
And for people who don't know, Scout was part of International Harvester through 1980, and it was a smallish off-road truck, very much like the period Ford Bronco, or what would come later as the Blazer. And it was just a small, dedicated off-road vehicle, very tough. And International Harvester, for people who don't know, made farm equipment.
Yes.
And big over-the-road trucks. So they made tough stuff.
And they were based in Fort Wayne.
Were they?
They were, and I know this because
they're in Chicago now.
They were
Fort
based.
Wayne.
They
I
were.
don't know why that doesn't ring a bell, but I trust you.
We lived in Fort Wayne.
Okay.
And I remember, like, one of my earliest memories as a kid is the talk when International Harvester went under.
Yeah, well, that happened.
Yeah.
Was it around 1980? They had big financial troubles. They killed the Scout, and they stopped selling stuff to consumers.
Yeah.
They'd also sold a small pickup truck.
Yeah.
These are really rugged. They were meant primarily for their core audience, which were agricultural buyers. But that all ended in 1980. I think it was, I forgot when they became Navistar. I should write stuff down.
You should write stuff down.
Look at all the stuff I wrote down. I didn't write this down. But International Harvester became Navistar, and then not that long ago, Volkswagen bought Navistar.
Yeah.
So Navistar, big over-the-road trucks, Volkswagens.
Yes.
Just like a lot of people don't know this, Freightliners are really Mercedes products. Mercedes owns Freightliner in the U.S. too. So some of the most popular high-volume big truck brands, German.
Okay.
Not a bad thing necessarily. Anyway, but they have Volkswagen dug into their portfolio, realized they had the Scout brand.
Yes.
And we have talked to our good friend Sam Fiorani of Auto Forecast Solutions about this. They may have launched this brand entirely for a very sinister reason. We'll get to that in a moment. But they've brought back Scout.
Yes.
And Scout's going to be two products. One is called the Traveler.
Yep.
And the other is called the Terra.
Terra.
Yeah.
Yep.
These are good looking.
They are very, very good looking, and they are very classic. They have a very classic style to them.
So they are off-road. Like this is going to be a tough off-road brand.
Yep.
These are 4x4s, and they're electric.
Yep.
If I didn't say the electric part, that's kind of key here.
Yes, it is.
But here's the thing we didn't realize, or I didn't realize, maybe you knew. They're big.
Yeah.
They're not mid-sized.
No.
The Terra is about the size of a quad cab, of a four-door F-150 with a short bed, 229 inches long.
I wonder how that compares to the Rivian.
It's bigger.
Is it bigger?
Yeah, Rivian's very much mid-size.
Well, it's like kind of in this weird spot between mid-size and full-size.
It's a little on the small side of full-size because I think a Ford F-150 crew cab short bed is like 231 inches.
Okay.
So this is just shorter. But the Traveler, interesting, at 208 inches long, gets very close to a Ford Expedition. It is much bigger than a Ford Explorer, and it's much bigger, to your point, than a Rivian R1S.
Yeah.
So these are big.
Yeah.
And this is where the story gets interesting.
Okay.
And this is where lawyers are going to get involved. It's going to get ugly because Volkswagen dealers, the brand, have wanted a full-size pickup truck or a pickup truck for a very long time.
Forever.
And you probably know this, Volkswagen sells pickups in other markets that they never chose to bring to
What they have, the Amarok, I think is what it's called. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that every guy in the U.S. that pretends to want a pickup truck pretends to want that vehicle.
Yes.
And then it would come here and no one would buy it.
That's fair.
But so we've got this full-size pickup truck. And it's going through a different brand, and it gets even worse.
Yeah.
It gets even worse because it's a new brand, and this is what Sam confirmed for us, Sam Fiorani, is that they have no interest in selling these through dealerships at all. They're going to go with a direct-to-consumer model. They're going to set up some showrooms around the U.S., but no dealers involved. And because this is a new company that has not had direct dealings with franchise dealers, they may be able to skirt that law. So we'll see where this goes, but it's going to be very ugly. Now, a couple of points. They're going to build these things in South Carolina, and they go on sale, I believe, in 2026 as 2027 models.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I was trying to bring up my story. Production starts in 2027. So it was previously assumed production would begin in 2026, but the Traveler is targeted for 2027. So, I mean, it could even be a 2028 model.
Okay, that's later than I thought.
The other thing that I thought was interesting about this, so the range for the EV is going to be 350 miles, but they're going to do a range extended model that'll have like a gasoline range extender similar to like the Chevrolet Volt or the upcoming Ram Charger that will, take the range up to 500 miles.
I should have mentioned that because that is a very interesting compromise that they're making. They're going ahead with their EV plans. But they were not going to introduce a gas version of any sort. But yeah, the range extender is interesting. Also interesting is the price. They're talking about a base price of under $60,000, and the federal tax credit of $7,500 will apply to these vehicles.
Because it is built in the United States.
Built in the United States, and presumably they got the battery chemistry to be domestic enough.
Yes.
All right. We have to take a break, Jill.
All right.
We talked a lot. We are joined by James Melfi of Xpel Products after the break.
Awesome.
All right. We'll be right back.
Questions or comments?
Drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.
That's carstuff@consumerguide.com. Welcome back to the Car Stuff Podcast.
All right, we're back. This is the Consumer Guide Car Stuff Podcast. I am Tom. She is Jill. Jill, how's it going?
It is going all right.
Real quick, we were going to talk about some stuff from your event, not in hell. Where was it? Traverse City.
Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor.
Yes.
Michigan. They got a lake up there.
Yes, they do.
We didn't talk about this for a while, but or much in the first thing, but you did not spend time in the Porsche Panamera.
I did not.
But that vehicle is not all new, but seriously freshened, right?
Yes.
A couple interesting things about that vehicle for people. You've seen them on the road because they used to be very popular. But the Panamera is this mid-size four-door executive-style vehicle available as a hatchback, and there was a wagon for a while too. Is there still a wagon?
I don't know.
I was poking around trying to build one today, and I don't know if I saw the wagon. But the Panamera is so interesting to me because it was really one of Porsche's first ventures into the non-traditional sports car thing, and yet it was indeed very sporty. But fun fact, I don't know if you knew this or not, mechanically very similar to the Bentley Continental.
Okay.
So there you have it.
Yes.
Cool vehicle.
Yeah.
I liked it. Also, back in the days when power was just a little bit less important, there was, in fact, a base V6 model of that car that way back when started like around $60K. It seemed like kind of a cool car. They're very expensive now.
How expensive are they?
They start over 100.
That would be expensive.
Porsche's creeping up to being almost over 100. I think the 718 vehicles that came in the Boxster and the Macan is just about it.
Yeah.
Then I don't know where the Cayenne's at. That's their mid-size crossover. Nice vehicle.
Yeah.
That's got to be bouncing right off 100 in base price too.
That could be. It has been so long since I've been in the regular rotation for Porsche. It's like trying to reintroduce myself to the brand.
Well, the brand started to back away. You saw this a little bit too happen with Audi, where they floated fewer vehicles into the media.
Yeah.
So we talk a little bit less about those brands.
Yeah.
But real quick, people should follow me on Twitter.
Okay.
I have a sneeze coming on.
Okay.
So you're going to have to cover with me. But I've got a sneeze coming on. But for people who need to know, I am Car Guy Tom on Twitter, and I use the CarSpotter hashtag for cool stuff I see mostly over the weekend.
Yes.
All right. On the phone with us
Yes.
is James Melfi. He is the product manager for Xpel Products. James, how are you today?
Good. How are you guys?
We are really good, sir, and we're excited to talk to you. Tell us a little bit about what you do and what Xpel is.
Yes. So I am the PPF product manager here at Xpel. For those of you guys that don't know, Xpel is kind of a global manufacturer of paint protection films, window films, ceramic coatings. I mean, anything to protect your car, your boat, your plane, and preserve it. That's kind of what we specialize in. And for me, I think I have, we're part of a pretty fun team in that we get to tinker and test new products and kind of continue to innovate. That's kind of the division I work under. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, we were going to talk today, I think, primarily about window tinting, but there's another topic I want to cross with you, if that's just okay. I was recently on another talk show, and I know nothing about this. So hopefully you can talk to us a little bit about ceramic coatings, too.
Absolutely. Please
Excellent.
do.
So let's talk about window tinting. I'm going to tell you a real quick funny story about window tinting. In the year 2000, I bought a 1999 Nissan Maxima. Great car. Bought it from someone in the city, and it had deeply, deeply, deeply tinted side glass. I brought it out to Rolling Meadows, Illinois, and I was immediately pulled over and forced to remove the tinting while the cop watched. I assume... I assume that tinting has evolved a lot since 25 years ago.
It certainly has, but I feel like that story probably lives on. I haven't experienced quite that, but I'll never forget. I have a similar story, right? It's like you get your first car, and immediately you just want the darkest tint humanly possible, right? And even the guy installing it's like, you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, yes, let's do it. And and then you drive like a mile and you get pulled over. But obviously, window film, I think, is seen in a very different way now. Window film has a lot of protective attributes and technology that's built into it. So it's not just an aesthetic product, right? I think for the longest time, everybody just like our stories, everybody just wanted the darkest tint possible, and it was purely to kind of augment the look of the car. Now it's providing true protection for the passengers, right? So it's blocking, in a lot of cases, depending on the film, 99.9% of all UV. It is being a true heat blocker, so it's preventing a lot of heat that comes into the cabin, keeping the cabin cooler, especially in warmer climates. So it's I ran a shop for many years. And that was, a huge sell point for us. And it was something that a lot of, new families kind of looked at, wanting to protect their kids in the back of their car, and not realizing that automotive glass, had any protective elements to it. And that's kind of where window film in the modern day, I think it's kind of it's the forging of the aesthetic side and the protection into one kind of really cool product.
I'm going to take this deep into the new century and suggest that if, in fact, you can keep the cabin temperature more moderated, if you have an electric vehicle, that can actually buy you a little range.
It certainly may, yeah. I mean, it's window film, I think, has been, since the explosion of certain like electric car brands, I think window film has just kind of gotten so much more awareness probably in certain parts of like the car market that maybe it wasn't as prevalent in. And I think the electric vehicle, that's certainly one of them.
So you guys have a product called Xpel Prime. How is that retailed, and what would people benefit from that? How would people benefit from that?
Yeah, so I mean, that's one of our ceramic window films, one of our more high-performance window films with those attributes kind of that we talked about, the UV blocking, the heat rejection, a certain level of scratch resistance and durability. So it's certainly kind of one of our high-performance films. And just like any product, you have your one element is a beautifully designed product that performs well throughout the years. The other side of it is the installation, right? And that's where our installer network kind of comes in, and where you would go into our locator, find an installer closer to you, and kind of talk through the process with them, because window film, for being in the industry so long, it's something that, installing that film is a bit of an art form, right? And it really takes a specialist to install it properly. So where, us as the car owner, we kind of take it for granted, right? We just open, we see it, we're like, oh, the tint's on there. We can see through it, but there is really certain techniques to applying it properly so that we kind of don't know anything's there. We just think it's just the glass. So going through that process with your installer, I think, is huge. Kind of talking about the different grades of film, kind of seeing what works best for you and your car.
So I don't know how any of this works. If I want Xpel window film and I want to tint my side glass, do I go to a car dealership? Do I go to an installer? Do I purchase the product there? And do I pay for everything at one time?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, there are a couple different routes, right? So the probably the most obvious one is to go to a local installer, right? So you can find a local installer by going to our dealer locator, putting in your zip code, finding the closest installer, and having the install done there. And that would be obviously something where once the installation is complete there, you're paying for that service. That would be the typical approach. It can be done at the dealership level. We do have dealerships that do install our films. That is a route there. That may be the case to someone that's local. But I would say the primary route is to seek out a shop, talk to the owner, talk about the nuances of the install, kind of really start to understand that. Understanding, because that's going to also kind of shed some light into the tint laws, right? So you don't have a scenario like you had, right, where you have to, take the tint off in front of the cop and understanding the shades of the tint, right, and all those little stuff. So I think that's such an important part of this process is to talk to that shop owner, understand the options, understand the shades of the window film, and kind of pick the best option.
So 2 quick questions here, and then I want to move on to something else. But talking about window shade and side glass tinting, I may have suggested before that tinting glass is illegal, but it's not. There are plenty of lighter tints that you can get that are perfectly legal before you get into trouble. And then my other question is, how long would a good tint last on your car?
The first question in terms of VLTs or the how much light is transmitted through the film is that so obviously you can get a dark tint, and in obviously some states that's not going to be legal. That's where our lighter shades kind of come into play. And the nice thing about the lighter shades of window film is that you're not changing the performance. So the performance aspect, that like what we alluded to, that heat rejection, that UV resistance, that stays consistent through all of our window film.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So you're not sacrificing the performance side of it. So, a great example is on my wife's car. She didn't really want to, make it too dark, right? But she wanted the performance attributes. So we put on a 70% window film, which is, you're almost adding just like a tick of darkness to the glass. I mean, like a real minute amount, but you're getting all the performance, which is really cool. So that's certainly an option. There's definitely an option for everyone across a variety of different states to kind of find something that works best for them. And then as far as durability, it's something that, maintenance does become a factor where you're making sure you're cleaning it properly and using, proper ammonia-free cleaners, keeping those scratches down over time. But something that should last for years and years and years and years without any fuss.
So I want to transition to some of the protective products that you guys use on vehicles. And I just finished competing in the Rebelle Rally, and I know that the BMW team actually used an Xpel film to cover the vehicle. And we were going through a lot of places with a lot of desert things that were going to scratch the vehicle. So I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit, generally about the protectants that you can put on vehicles, and then specifically if you know how that BMW fared from the Rebelle.
Yeah, no, that's what a cool project, kind of highlighting, our film and the car in that rally. What our flagship product is paint protection film. So it is a polyurethane-based film that prevents wear and tear and chips and scratches from ever penetrating and hitting your paint. So it's all kind of about paint preservation. And obviously in that case, that car is going through the not exactly normal conditions. But that film in that instance is really acting as that true sacrificial barrier. So that film is there to take the hits, to absorb the impacts, so that whenever it is time to take that film off, the paint underneath is pristine. That rally is definitely putting the film to its absolute limits, but that's what it's there for. That's what it's there to do. It's to worry less and to drive more. That's I think the kind of the ultimate best way to put it is, when you get a brand new car and you're driving for that first week and you're like kind of walking on eggshells until you get the paint protection film on, because you don't want any chips, and it's so easy to get chips nowadays where the paint thickness, we're just not getting as much material as we did, 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So our clear coats are really prone to scratching and obviously chipping. And it doesn't take too long. So that's kind of where paint protection comes in, is where you can go on a rally and you can also just be the weekend warrior or the daily driver that just wants to preserve and not take as much time to maintain their car the way they want to maintain it, and to kind of hold as much value as possible.
So, question for you then, like, okay, I've got like a ding, I've got desert rash because I competed in the Rebel Rally. How difficult?
You personally?
Yeah, I personally. But our vehicle was not protected with Xpel, and I'm very sorry for that. But I'm wondering how difficult it is to take off that coat, like if you wanted to replace it with another one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a part of the beauty of Xpel paint protection film, is that it can be very safely removed without damaging the underlining paint in the process, right? So the best and most effective way to do it is with steam, and I would recommend seeking out a professional to do it, because there is a little nuance to it. But for the most part, what that steam does is it loosens up the adhesive without putting stress onto the clear coat, and that's the secret, right? And you're kind of lightly lifting up the film in a certain angle, and the adhesive and the film all come off in one piece, and you have a completely perfect paint surface underneath, and you can start again. And I used to, and I still say, it's the automotive journey, or when it's right to take the film off. I think it's different for everybody, right? Like the 911 guy who is totally babying his car and, is continually wiping it down with quick detailer. That film may forever look great. You know what I mean? He's not putting it, through its limits. But, someone that has like a GT3 and they're tracking it and they're getting a lot of rubber impact and they're getting stones and and that film is absorbing more, maybe at the, 5-year mark, 7-year mark, 10-year mark, 12-year mark. That's when that owner will have to say, okay, the film took some hits. It did its job, man. Did I get my money back for that? And now it's time to kind of start again and start that cycle all over again. I think that's the best way to look at it.
James, we're running out of time, but I really want to talk about ceramic paint coatings. That seems to be a kind of a buzz product these days. What is that, and how does that help an owner?
Yeah, so ceramic coating is a little different. So where, paint protection film is that 8 mil sacrificial, really tangible layer, a ceramic coating is microscopic in comparison. But what you're getting from it is kind of a different world, right? What you're getting from it is a sacrificial layer that adds an incredible, vibrant, kind of candy-like gloss to it that is durable, right? So that's going to far outlast any wax ever could, right? So you're going to get years of that kind of really vibrant gloss, and at the same time, you're getting a surface that is now really easy to clean. So dirt and grime comes off with ease without having to scrub and potentially scratch. So they film and coatings, they kind of do two different things. Like one's the anti-scratch, let's not have any more rock chips, sacrificial layer, and the ceramic coating is the ease of cleaning and this jaw drop vibrance, right? And in so many cases they work together, right? You put the film down, then you put the coating on top, and you have like the absolute best of both worlds, right? So they're two unique products, but they kind of solve two different problems. Cool.
We are flat out of time, James, but if people want to learn more about Xpel, what should they do?
I would recommend Xpel.com. It's a myriad of different resources. That is the best way to go to kind of initially learn about our products, and then kind of go on that dealer locator, find an installer closest to them, reach out, kind of start that conversation, and see what products might fit the best for them. Yeah, I'm at Xpel.com right now, and there's a bunch of products we didn't talk about, so listeners do want to check this out. And you can find people to install the stuff right there on Xpel.com. And I want to clarify, it's Xpel, Xpel.com, not EX. It's just Xpel.com. A point worth making. Yeah, if you want to go to the right place. Thank you. And we will link to that as well from the show notes. James, thank you so much for your time today. No, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. All right, that was James Melfi with Xpel Products. We're going to take a break, and when we come back...
quiz time.
It's quiz time.
Questions or comments?
Drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.
That's carstuff@consumerguide.com. Welcome back to the Car Stuff Podcast.
We are back. This is the Car Stuff Podcast. I'm Tom, she's Jill, and this is the part of the show where Jill says stuff about social media.
My turn. So I'm on social media. I mentioned earlier I was posting TikToks about the Porsche Macan. And I have a lot of stuff coming out of the NACTOY semifinalist drive.
You know, at least we're saying Porsche.
Porsche.
Yeah.
Porsche.
When I was in high school, a lot of people just said Porsche.
Porsche.
Yeah.
Porsche.
Sorry.
Yes. So you can find me on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, all of the things. I think I've got my Facebook page set up to follow me. So you don't have to friend me. You can just follow me. But Jill Ciminillo, so JILLCIMINILLO. And then I use the hashtag car du jour. So that's probably an easier way to find me.
I hear car du jour, I think soup du jour.
Yep.
And when I think soup du jour, I think French onion soup.
Yeah. And now I'm hungry.
You know what's hard to find?
What?
Vegetarian French onion soup. Hard to find. Chicago Diner, one of the greatest vegetarian restaurants in the world.
Which I live near.
Two locations.
Yeah, I live near the one in the city.
Yeah. What neighborhood's that? That's
Logan Square.
Logan Square. Thank you.
When I make it veg. It's not vegan, but it's veg.
That's fine. Cheese should always be cow-based.
Or I have vegan cheese. Vegan cheese isn't bad, but no,
it doesn't milk good.
Do they use a beef broth with it?
No.
Why isn't it vegan then, or veg?
Oh no, it's usually chicken broth actually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, if you get it at a restaurant.
You know what's really funny? Whenever I order it, I get it without the bread and without the cheese, and they look at me and they're like, "You
What's the
just
point?
want onion soup?" And I
What's
was
the
like,
point?
"Yeah, I'm one of those people."
I'd like a 911 turbo, no turbo, please.
Yeah, that's essentially it.
All right, we're running a little late, so we have to get to the quiz.
Okay, we have to go to the quiz.
Did you cover everything? I wasn't listening.
Yes, I'm on all the things Jill Ciminillo car du jour, which led to soup du jour and our conversation about French onion soup.
All right, sounds good. It's quiz time. Today's topic is, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Buick or the Beatles?
Okay.
Are you ready?
And by the Beatles, you mean the band, not the
Yes.
Beatle car?
Yes.
Okay.
Buick or the Beatles, the band.
Okay.
I just saw a video with Paul McCartney. It was great. It was just one of YouTube short. What do they call those, reels? Whatever it is.
YouTube short.
Yeah, where he was talking about how they never passed on an accident without turning it into something. And the song "I Feel Fine" opens with like this really weird distortion. Totally an accident. And they loved it, so they left it in there. That's why I'm thinking of Paul McCartney these days.
Got it.
All right, Paul McCartney, by the way. Oh, no. Never mind. That's the first quiz question. Jill, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to give you two facts. One of them is correct. You have to tell me which one.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
All right. Paul McCartney is currently 89 years old, or the Buick Envision starts around $38,000. Buick Envision being the compact Buick that is actually built in China.
I feel like Paul McCartney is a little younger than 89.
Sir Paul, please say Sir Paul.
Sir Paul.
Yeah.
Because my dad was 81, so I feel like he and my dad were closer in age than that. I mean, maybe Paul was a little bit older. But I'm gonna go with the Buick price being true.
Yes, the Envision does indeed start around $38,000, and Paul is just 82.
Yep. Okay.
You're on the board. You have 1 point. All right, number 2. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Paul is famous for playing a Hofner brand bass guitar. Buick was founded in 1936. Hofner bass, 30s.
So for that entire question, all I heard was womp 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 womp.
Never heard of a Hofner brand guitar?
No.
Could be fake. You've heard of Buick.
I have heard of Buick, yeah.
How old is Buick?
Yeah. You said 1938?
I said 1936.
1936. I'm going to say Buick brand.
Is correct?
Yeah.
It is not. No,
Okay.
Buick was founded way back in 1903.
Wow.
Actually, it goes further back, but that was the auto company. And Paul does, in fact, play a Hofner.
Got it.
Really cool looking guitar. And he still plays it in concert
Okay.
because Paul is cool.
Well, okay.
All right. Question 3, you have 1 point. We didn't talk about this. 5 questions total plus a bonus question. You need 3 total for a win.
Yes.
All right. Number 3, Ringo Starr's real name is Hamlet Baldwin. Buick was founded by David Dunbar Buick. Hamlet Baldwin, David Dunbar.
So I have a really funny tangent because I'm stalling and I won't stall that long. Do you know what Cary Grant's real name was?
I would know it if I heard it.
His real name was Archibald Leach.
Yeah.
I can see why he
One of
changed
the
his
best-looking
name.
humans of all time
Yeah.
was named Leach.
Leach. Archibald.
Yeah.
Hey, Archie.
Yeah.
All
Cary
right.
Grant was awesome.
He was quite awesome. Okay, so
Hamlet Baldwin, David Dunbar. Ringo Starr's real name.
I'm gonna go with David Dunbar.
As being correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Buick was indeed founded by a gentleman named David Dunbar Buick, and Ringo Starr's real name, Richard Starkey.
Okay,
All right.
that makes sense to
You
me.
have 2 points.
Okay.
Ready? Question 4. John Lennon's first wife was Goldie Hawn. Buick once sold a car called a Centurion. One of those is true.
I'm gonna say the Buick Centurion is true.
It is, yeah. Between 1971 to 1973, basically replaced the Wildcat in the Buick lineup. John Lennon's first wife was actually Cynthia Powell.
Because I don't think he was ever married to Goldie Hawn, was he?
I don't even know if they knew each other.
Yeah, I'm like Goldie Hawn. I always associate with Chevy Chase because they were in a lot of movies together.
At some point, John also met Yoko Ono.
Yeah. I knew Yoko Ono,
Yeah.
but I was like, I don't think that they were married.
Yeah. Goldie Hawn, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Although, fun connection to your Buick Wildcat
By the
thing.
way, you've won.
Thank you. She starred in a movie called Wildcats, which was filmed in Chicago.
Oh, I didn't
where she was a
realize that.
football coach.
Didn't they film that at Lane Tech?
They did at Addison and Western.
Yeah. For people who don't, Lane Tech is only slightly smaller than the Pentagon.
Yeah.
It is a sprawling.
Very, very large high school.
It is sprawling.
But yes.
All right, you've already won. Congratulations. One more regular question. George Harrison once recorded a song called Cracker Box Palace, or Buick sells a van in China called the Stormy.
Cracker Jack Palace?
Cracker Box Palace.
Cracker.
Did I say Cracker Jack?
I don't know.
Cracker Box.
I heard Cracker Jack in my head. That would be way more interesting. Neither of those sound likely.
One of them is true. And Buick does sell vans in China.
But is it called the Stormy?
Good question.
It was a dark and stormy night. Snoopy reference there. I'm going to go with the George Harrison being true.
It is. Cracker Box Palace is what he called his house.
Okay.
And he wrote
so
a song.
weird.
He wrote a song when he was expecting his first child called "Welcome to Cracker Box Palace." It's a nice tune.
Okay.
Nice tune. Very nice. You got 4 out of 5, I believe.
Yeah?
All right. Bonus question. You're big on geography, right?
Huh.
Don't you always say I need to go to Africa?
I would like to go to Africa.
So
yes.
would I. So
Yes.
would I. Well,
I've
today's...
technically been on the continent of Africa.
I have not.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you might know this question.
been to
then.
Morocco.
You might do well.
Yeah.
My daughter was supposed to go to Morocco. Didn't work out because of COVID. Bummer. That
Yeah.
she's, transfer student thing. Joe, which of the following is not a nation in Africa?
Okay.
Are you ready? Tunisia, Egypt, Burkina Faso, or French Guyana?
I know Egypt is because I've also been there. So I've been to Africa twice. Read them again.
Tunisia, Egypt, Burkina Faso, or French Guyana?
It's one of the last two. I've never heard of the third one.
Before today, neither had I.
But I feel
I'm not
like
going to pretend like I know this either.
I feel like French Guiana might be in Central or South America or something like that.
Trust your God.
Yeah, because I remember when I was in high school thinking, why is it called French Guiana when that's a Spanish-speaking area? So I'm gonna say that one.
You are correct. And it is, yeah. It's up in the northeast of South America there.
Yeah, because I remember thinking that just seems weird to me.
Burkina Faso is a small country. It's sort of west central and it's landlocked. And I don't know that I'd ever heard of it before. And every jazz fan knows Tunisia because there's a very, very, very popular song, always covered, called A Night in Tunisia. Fantastic.
But why would you know that was in Africa?
You wouldn't, but you'd be like, this is a great song. Where's Tunisia? So you have to look. It's actually right by Morocco. It's sort of central, northern, on the water.
Got it.
All right, nice job.
All right.
All right, great show. We have a couple of minutes left.
Yes.
What are you driving?
I'm driving my car today.
Oh, that's right. Which
yeah.
has a flat.
Well, maybe. Anybody have a tire gauge? Because my husband doesn't in the car. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to give you one of mine. But no, I'm doing a car swap today, and so I just swapped out of the Lincoln Nautilus, and then I switched fleet managers, and so they're bringing me the Mazda CX-50 hybrid. So that is being dropped at my house as we record this.
Which we can't talk about.
No, because it's under embargo until like November 12th.
Yeah, I'm getting one too. And it's sort of on top of my regular schedule. Mm-hmm. So this is basically the reveal for us.
Yes, this is like the first drive event.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Me, you know what? I really like the CX-50. And it's funny because whenever I drive the CX-50, I am convinced that it's better than the CX-5, and then I get behind the wheel of the CX-5 and I'm convinced it's better than the CX-50. They're both great cars.
Yeah, and for people who don't remember, the CX-5 I think still is Mazda's best-selling vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Very conventional, small crossover. Mm-hmm. And then the CX-50 came out, one of the new two-digit numbers.
Yeah.
A little bit longer, a little bit sportier, and maybe it looks a little bit more off-roady.
Yeah, it has more cladding.
It's slightly upscale.
Yeah, the interior is really nice.
But it's not selling nearly as well as the CX-5, so which is interesting.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to get rid of the CX-5 anytime soon.
No, but they did get rid of, in this whole process, the CX-3 went away.
Yeah.
Which was a subcompact crossover. That was replaced by the incredibly likable CX-30, which I would like my daughter to look at.
Yeah.
And then we know the CX-70 just came out, and the CX-90 replaced the CX-9. So Mazda bonkers with name changes.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit, too, about Mazda's climb up market. Mm-hmm. And we always talk about how that never goes anywhere. But Mazda might be making this work. Yeah. Largely because they're bringing in these newer models, but they have base prices that kind of still stick around where the old vehicle used to play. Mm-hmm. But they do go tremendously upscale on top trim levels. Also, each one of those vehicles has 33 trim levels, the names of which I cannot remember.
Yeah, no. I mean, they feel like they change them every year. So I don't know. So I'm looking forward to getting that. That will be in my garage when I get home. And assuming I do not have a flat tire when we go outside, I should be able to see it within an hour.
If you do, I'll be happy to call someone for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I would have to call somebody. I mean, so my husband had a flat tire like last week, and had to use the donut. So I don't even know if the donut is back in the. So because I could change the tire, but we'll see if the donut's still there.
All right, guess what we did?
We talked a lot.
We did.
About car stuff.
Good show, though.
Yes.
We don't talk a lot about car accessories and stuff, so maybe that's something we need to do from time to time. But thank you to James Melfi of Xpel Products for joining us, and that's Xpel, as you pointed out, XPEL. Check them out at xpel.com.
Yes.
All right. Thank you to producer Randy and the good folks here at TalkZone. Thank you, Jill.
Yes, thank you.
Let's talk more about cars again.
Next week.
Remember to check us out at consumerguide.com.
The Car Stuff Podcast is produced by J-Turn Media.
To advertise on the show, please drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.